Ah, thank you, Mr. Shin. First of all, I will introduce myself. My name is Lee Jung-hyun. Currently, I'm interning at the KOICA, Korea International Cooperation Agency. So I actually have three questions. The first one is for all three ambassadors. I mean, today I mainly came here because the topic, so the title was the female ambassadors. I just thought it was a very interesting topic. And then there are three distinctive, interesting topics selected by all three of you. So my question to all three ambassadors is are there any specific reasons for why you decided to choose the topic that you talked about today? So that's my first question. And the second question is to Ms. Clare Fearnley, because you talked about the economic integration in Asia-Pacific region. There's a lot of debate about whether economic integration is really beneficial to everyone. So my question is who do you see as the biggest beneficiary, and who do you see as the biggest, I don't want to say the word loser, but then who do you see as the biggest person losing from the economic integration in Asia Pacific? So that's my second question. Also, the last question is also toward all three ambassadors. So what advice would you give to someone who's seeking to enter into foreign service, especially for women? Thank you.
So actually the three, but many questions to all three. Times three is a 9 question actually. All right. And I'll get one or two more questions and ask our ambassadors to respond to those questions.
First of all, thank you, Mr. Shin. I'm Hwang Jae-won from Korean Minjuk Leadership Academy, so-called Minjuk Seogwon-Godeunggakyo. My question is directly appointed to Ms. Ramli. I'm sorry if I pronounced that weirdly. But my question was, before anything, I'd like to thank you on your presentation. I think it was very well focused on federal laws and the administrative systems of Malaysia. But with that being said, I also wanted to know about the realities of normal women, because the civil servants and the policymakers of Malaysia are actually one of the most elitist groups of Malaysia. So with that being said, I'd like to have more insight from you about the normal lives of women in Malaysia, especially because, to my knowledge, the Penal Code 375 of Malaysia allows that marital rape isn't a crime in Malaysia. So with regards to those sort of issues, I'd like to hear about, as a female ambassador from Malaysia, your opinions about the reality of other women in Malaysia. Thank you.
Very good. It's one specific question.
My name is Hara, and I am a student at International Studies in Korea University. I also have a similar question to the Malaysian ambassador, Ms. Clare, Ms. Aldonado Ramli. Since I heard, I can tell that there's lots of advantages, and also there's lots of interest in Malaysia towards the rights for the woman and their interest to raise the labor force. But I would like to ask, as a female ambassador in Malaysia, were there any difficulties, or were there any specific difficulties to become a female ambassador as a Malaysia? And also, I would like to ask some of the insightful experience as living as a female ambassador to all three ambassadors here. Thank you.
Thank you. The same questions to Malaysian ambassador. Any male participants? All questions? Oh yeah. You're very brave enough to volunteer.
Yes, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Deputy Ambassador of Egypt and now Chargé d'Affaires. And I'm very pleased to be the first male asking question in this wonderful female ambassadors IFANS, and also female participants. My question is rather interdisciplinary. So it's taking the Malaysian subject and asking the Rwandan ambassador about it. So my question is about women in Rwanda, in Africa in general, but I know in Rwanda you have a very, very active role of women leading the society. You spread the light about this, but I need more to speak about the role of women. You led a lot of, after the genocide, I think women played a huge major role to the heels of the society, to get it again healing quickly, and the whole injuries of the society that happened. So please, can you please give us some idea about the role of women in Rwanda? Thank you.
Right, it's very specific questions, the Rwandan experience. One more questions. Okay, the behind.
Hello, my name is Shin Dong-ik, and I'm a college student. And I saw a movie called Hotel Rwanda, which is about the conflict between Hutu and Tutsi. And at this movie, there are a lot of limitations of the United Nations, because when it comes to United Nations can use only force when it comes to defense. So my question is, did United Nations give a lot of help to end the conflict between Hutu and Tutsi in Rwanda?
Thank you. So all 5 questions, but you deserve to answer one by one. I don't know who has more questions to answer. Yeah. Ambassador Fearnley, you first in this row, this sequence.
Oh, okay. I haven't been keeping a good record of all the questions, so please help me if I think the first one was, why choose the topic? Well, you know, why choose the topic? I guess because it's of personal interest to me, and I'm hoping it'll be of interest to the audience, and at least relevant to us all. That would be one reason. One substantive question that was directed was around who are the winners and losers in economic integration? And I could look at that in a couple of ways. One is looking at which countries benefit the most, or which groups within society benefit the most. On the first part, there's some really interesting economic analysis done, I think, by the World Bank, but I'd have to check that, ranking which economies within the TPP negotiations would benefit the most from a fully implemented agreement. And interestingly, the country that was miles ahead in terms of economic benefit under TPP, who would you guess that it was amongst the 12, for those of you who know the members of the TPP? I think most of us might be quite surprised to find that it was Vietnam, the least developed of the 12 members of the TPP, who would actually have the biggest GDP growth through economic integration. So I think if we look at it in terms of which countries benefit the most, I think a very easy public narrative is, oh, it's all about developed economies, all about big economies, they're the ones who benefit. Actually, you know, if you look, it's not. The other aspect is which groups within society, and that's a very interesting one, and clearly a very live issue in the presidential debate in the US at the moment. Domestically, the great preponderance of economic analysis shows overall economic integration benefits benefits broadly the economy, but that there are patchy areas where some benefit more and some do not benefit. And therefore I think thinking that's emerging is an understanding that economic integration is just one policy, and around it you need to have other policies that take into account the direct impact on individuals, on communities, on geographical areas within countries, on sectors. So there's an understanding that there needs to be a broader package of policies. For my country, we wouldn't see that as a subsidisation policy that you'd adopt. We'd see it as social welfare, re-education, income maintenance policies that you need to put around those elements within a country who are perhaps disadvantaged while others are being advantaged significantly. So our policy toolkit would look to education, training in technical areas, and income support while people are going through that phase of adjustment.
Thank you. Ambassador Rohana. Ramli.
Thank you, Mr. Shin. Questions, I have the most. I guess I choose the correct topic, or a very interesting topic. One of the questions was the reason as to why I choose the topic. I have already explained at the start of my lecture to say that it's a topic that is close to my heart. I've always been interested to know what is the status on the rights of women all over the world, and you know, even in my country. And I've gone into 32 years of service, and sometimes I feel that there are areas where we are not up to the mark as yet, but there are also areas where we are much more, I would say, developed than some of the other countries. Take for example, we never have to fight for women's right to vote, because right from the start, when we received our independence, women already have been given that right. That is one question. The other question was, what would piece of advice to all the ladies here, should they want to enter the foreign service? Be ready to sacrifice, because there's a lot of sacrifices that you have to make. But it goes also for the men, but it's a bit more difficult for the ladies, considering that we have the other role to play, mothers as wife. So not that the male do not have to be a husband, but it's always been difficult for us because we have so many roles to play. So be ready to sacrifice, be ready to be away from home, and there's a lot of other things that you have to sacrifice. The other question about female ambassador, difficulties to become as an ambassador. Well, personally, I didn't see much difficulty in me rising to this position as an ambassador. I see that in my ministry, equal opportunities were given. There was not much of a struggle. The promotion was based on competency. That means all I have to do is just work hard and do my work to the best ability. So I may be wrong. Maybe my other female colleague in the ministry felt otherwise. But I'm being asked this question, so I am answering it in a very honest way. I did not feel that I am being discriminated in the ministry in terms of advancing my position to the level of an ambassador. I was also, before I came here, I was the deputy minister level, or in Malaysia we call it the Deputy Secretary General, handling management services, and I was the second woman holding that position in terms of historical facts. On the issue of marital rape, now I have not read in full detail of the penal code, but I am very sure that, a rape is a rape, whether it's marital or otherwise, a rape is a rape. And if cases are brought over to the court, it will depend on that specific case. I'm not sure where you read in the social media where you say that Malaysia actually condone marital rape. I do not think that is true. So I would just say that it would be better if you read the whole and understand the whole penal code before one can come to a conclusion whether Malaysia actually condone marital rape. Okay, I think that's all.
Thank you. I think you addressed all the questions, but no discriminations of the women's promotion. I think it's encouraging, but sacrifice, all the time sacrifice, is quite discouraging for our future ambassadors, probably our candidate diplomats. All right, next is Ambassador Emma-Françoise. You have 2 or 3 questions, I guess.
Thank you very much. The first question about if there was any specific reason that I chose the topic I presented on today is that the economic growth of my country is at the heart of every citizen. And whenever time I find an opportunity to share thought and discuss with right gathering like yours, I always take that opportunity, and I thank you very much for your listening. The second question about women and foreign services, I just would like to share with you that Before coming here, I was serving my country as a minister for energy and water. What Ambassador Rohana told you is true, that when you hold this high-level position, is like the higher is the position, the higher is the responsibility. It does not only come with privileges, it comes with heavy yoke on your shoulders that you need to lift and serve your country. Therefore, you need to make so more sacrifices like the normal citizen. But to this date, I am so grateful to my God and to my president who had appointed me as minister first and ambassador here, because it's an opportunity of the whole life. It's where you learn the more, but even in the Bible it is written, the more you are given, the more you will be asked. So that is my opinion, and I encourage everyone to really join the foreign services, because I feel good, because I am running services to my country, linking development to developing. The question about how the women of Rwanda have made it to high numbers in all the decision-making position is that we had genocide in 1994, and the target was mainly to every Tutsi, but mainly to men. So the number of men killed during genocide is higher than the women that were killed. But women also went through a lot of hardship. However, the survivors, number of survivors in the women were higher than men. Then you found in Rwanda in 1994, after the genocide, that women were so many families with women as the head. So they had to provide for the family. They had to work hard. That is how they grew responsible. They grew responsible, and the laws, the constitutions enabled that growth. Then after they get higher, now they stay by merit, not that they are women. So the women in Rwanda delivered on the same level as men, and we build our country on the same level of understanding. The question about the UN helping Rwanda during the genocide. Actually, the ideology of genocide started a long time ago. External forces taught us, or came and told us how we were different, and some people tend to believe it. And they started persecuting others, and it was since 1959 when Rwandans, some part of Rwandans were denied even the right to live in the country. So they exiled into the neighboring countries. Those who could stay in Rwanda, because of the ideology, the genocide ideology, in 1994, they were killed. When the kill started, Rwandans shouted for help everywhere. But no one answered until those who fled the country decided to come and rescue those who were survivors. So the problem of genocide was started by Rwandans who were killing other Rwandans, and it was stopped by Rwandans. I think that, well, my question.
So, Ambassador, Egypt, it's okay? Yes, all right. So you have one more to add?
I have a question actually, and it's for President Shin, because we've been talking about the experience of women diplomats in our countries, and I just wonder, I know that you're not a woman diplomat, but you spent a very long time in MOFA and now here at IFANS, and I just wonder whether you have any comment on the role of women in the Foreign Service here in Korea.
Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, his last speech at the UN General Assembly 2 days ago, he said he is regarded as a feminist. So I'm also, because I have 2 daughters, always surrounded by all the females. When I served in Director General or Deputy Minister, under my mandate, about 5 bureaus, about 80 or 90% of my colleagues are female. So I feel very comfortable all the time working together with the female colleagues, because I feel no difference in their capability and their talent, but they are more have sophisticated talent and working in specific subject and sense of responsibility. But physically, I'm not sure still. So if you or the female diplomats will be sent to the African countries or Middle East, some problems and difficulties adapting into a new environment. But when I visited recently to Saudi Arabia and Iran, Tehran, and the Muslim countries, African countries, and more the female Korean diplomats are now working because no other options. More than 50% of our recruitment for diplomats are female. Is replacing all the male diplomats, but I don't see any difference between male and female. But my difficulty, if you ask when anything I has some, as Rohana mentioned, the sacrifice is sacrifice not for myself, it's for my family. Our 2 children, sometimes they have difficulties to move around one place to another places from different regions, different continents. Probably I feel some sorry feeling, sentiment about my children. It's not to myself. But sacrifice is both mutual and beneficiary. If they said it's okay for their whole life, I feel very happy after my retirement. If they don't find any some good feelings or any, they said it is not satisfactory for whole life, maybe that is maybe some weak part, sad part of my life. But anyhow, this is my personal answers. I appreciate particularly our ambassadors and from diplomatic corps. I'm now giving you a pre-warning. So who will be next candidate, victims, to be invited to our next IFANS Talks? I'm considering it will be either issue-based, agenda-based, or a regional rotation. So African group or the Western European group. So I'm considering what will be the formulation of the next IFANS Talks. That's pre-warning. And thank you very much, all the participants, our academy, as well as the colleagues and students and other scholars. So I think it's a very extremely useful session. And lastly, please give the big applause to our 3 distinguished ambassadors again.